Ellie here from the Dark Imp, helping parents to reclaim family time through playing board games together. Today we're going to talk about small games, games you can fit in your handbag or your rucksack and easily take out wherever you're going. Playing in restaurants, playing in cafes, in the car when you're waiting for people, or just, if you're going off for a weekend, not wanting to pack too much. So what small games can you get that are good games and will keep you all entertained? Well, let's see what I've got in my handbag. So, let's start with a couple of two-player games. Very nice two-player game called Claim. It's a trick-taking game, so if you've played whist or spades, some people call it, those are trick-taking games with a normal deck of cards. Claim uses special cards with different factions on, so you've got some undead, you've got some goblins and knights and things. They're beautiful cards, and you just take different tricks, but the different factions have different powers. For this game, you can see it's small. In fact, it'd probably go into a box half the size because it's not completely full. Just when you're playing, bear in mind that it's complicated. It has 2 rounds, but what you do with the cards is complicated, and you need to keep the piles quite clear and separate. So you want to make sure you've got enough space to play it, whereas it doesn't take up too much space in your handbag, some of these, or your rucksack, some of these do take up space when you're playing them. So that's Claim, a 2-player game. Another great 2-player game is Jaipur. Now, Jaipur comes in a bigger box. I don't really want to take this around my handbag, it's a bit boxy for that. But you can put it, it doesn't have that much, when you take out the rule book, it's a smallish packet. So when you know how to play and you don't need to take the rules with you, you know how to set up, you can do that. It's got camels and spices and various other things you can trade, jewels, and then there are some tokens. So just the camels and the cards, the tokens, and you can take that and play that wherever you are. Again, it takes a little bit of space on the table, but it's worth it. It's a really nice 2-player game, which you buy and sell things and compete to have a majority of different goods. Now, if you've got more than 2 players, you've got various options. Let's see, what have we got here? So some games take up more space on the table. For example, this is a tiny box, Iota, but as it says, it's a great big game in a teeny weeny box. You need a good sized table for this because it's what we might call a tile laying game, or in this case a card laying game. And all of these little cards, they end up going out next to each other on the table, so it gets quite big. But if you're going away for the weekend and you're going to a hotel or a self-catering place, or someone else's family you're going to stay with, this is a lovely one to just shove in your bag and take with you. Really nice tile laying game, quite puzzly. We've got another tile laying game, which is called Arboretum. Now again, Arboretum comes in a bigger box, but they have provided you with a small carry case in the box so that you can take it around and play it when take it wherever you're going. It's a pack of cards, a deck of cards. The cards are beautifully silvery, and they have different varieties of trees on them. And it's you always have to make the decision about which trees you're going to place in your arboretum in front of you, and which trees you're going to use to discard and to win the right to score different pathways in your arboretum, different varieties of trees. Only one person gets to score each variety. I've also put one of the score sheets in here, which will do actually for several games, depending on how many people you're playing with. And that's all you really need to take out with you. I really like that game. Another tile laying game is Aquarius. Again, it's cards rather than tiles, but they get laid. Oh, it's upside down. I think we might have put this one back together the wrong way. They get laid out across the table, and you're trying to match up different kinds of tiles next to each other and create sets and groups of your particular element. It's simple, it's quite fun, easy to transport, and one that people might not have seen, so it's quite nice if you want to show it to people that haven't played it before. Then we've got about some cooperative games. So cooperative games mean that you play together as a group and try and win against the game. So here is a cooperative game that came out, I think, in 2018. It won the Spielers Jahres, which is the German Game of the Year competition. So that's quite prestigious, and it's very different from other games. All it's got inside is a pack of cards from 1 to 100, and all they have on the card is the number, really, so number 59. And you have to put down your cards in order, but you don't know what the other people have got, so you have to decide whether your card might be lower or higher than other people's, depending on how quickly they're placing down. And you try and get through as many rounds as possible without putting cards down out of order. It's very straightforward, but really difficult. Really difficult. Another cooperative game which came out in 2018 is called Mayfly. This is a Japan brand game, and I haven't seen anything like this before. This is a co-op game where you're trying. So the theme is you're trying to grow a male mayfly from larva stage to adult stage, and you use the box to feed cards to the larvae. So there are cards, and then you feed them into the box, which is when you're feeding food to the larvae to try and make it grow. And then in the adult stage, which is the second phase of the game, you're trying to find the mayfly mate, and there's all sorts of different scenarios, and you have to work together to try and grow this mayfly and let it find a mate. That's your aim. Also, there are escape room games that you can get in a box. So if you've done an escape room, that's where you go to a particular centre, and they'll have rooms that are all sorts of that contain all sorts of puzzles, and usually they're themed. You get locked in the room for an hour. You can escape, don't worry. I mean, you can get out if you need to, but the idea is that you puzzle your way out by working out how to put different things together. You unlock things, you try and puzzle your way out. You can now get escape rooms in a box, and there are various varieties, but one of the smallest ones is Deskscape, which is just a pack of cards, and you work through them in order. You can only really do it once. Some of the escape room games you discard. You have to discard because they're one play only. You end up destroying components and ripping things up and writing on them. Deskscape, you can play more than once. You can give it to people, or you can do it once and then leave it in your cupboard for a year, and you'll have forgotten it all anyway. So Deskscape's a nice one. It's difficult if you want to stop and start. You can't really stop and start. It might not be a good one for a restaurant, because when your food comes, you'll have to stop, and you can't really do that in an escape room. You want, to focus on the game for an hour. If you haven't got that much space, then you might want to choose a game like Love Letter, which is really small. It comes in a lovely little pouch. It's totally designed to take around with you. It's got 16 cards, I think, and a few tokens. And you have one card each, and on your turn you pick up a card and you discard a card, and various things happen according to which card you've discarded. And at the end of the game, if you have the highest card in your hand, at the end of the round, that's when you win. You're trying to get a love letter to the princess, so the person who's got it closest to the princess, or the highest ranking card, wins. It's really quick. It's a brilliant one to play when you're out having food or you're in a pub or something. It doesn't matter if there's loads of noise, and different people can join in different rounds. It's really straightforward. It takes about 2 minutes to explain the game to somebody else, possibly less. and you can play an entire game in 15 minutes. Love letter. Another game that's pretty good for bigger groups. This one, a fake artist goes to New York. It's a small box, as you can see. It's actually quite expensive for a small box, which is the only thing that kind of bothers me about it. It's got some pens in and a few tokens, and then it's got a score pad, and you have to, a writing pad, and you have to, it's a bit like Pictionary, but instead of drawing a whole thing, you're drawing one line at a time. And you're trying to work out, depending on who draws what, who is the fake artist. Everybody knows what they're drawing except one person who's trying to fake their way through it. So they're trying to look at what other people have drawn and draw something that is complementary or that fits in with the whole piece. You're trying to discover who the fake artist is. Quite fun, a light, very light game that you can play as much or as little as you want to, and different people can join us as you go through the game. Sort of a deduction game. Age of War comes in a bigger box. Doesn't need to. This is just a little bag. It's got some cards which are used as sort of tiles, and some dice, some custom dice. You throw the dice. You try and claim the cards. You try and collect sets of cards based on what's on the card and how you throw your dice. The one with the most points wins. Very straightforward, but really good fun. It's about how much you push your luck. How far do you go to try and get the sets? Do you try and go for the expensive sets, or do you hold back and build up your points getting easier sets? Age of War. Now, Monopoly is not a game that you'd put in your handbag, and it's probably not a game that most people want to play. But Monopoly Deal, on the other hand, this is a great game, and this is being well used, hence the fact that it's looking like it's been well used. Monopoly Deal is a set of cards, that's all. It plays much, much quicker than Monopoly, probably in 15 minutes. And you're again trying to get sets of property, but you're also stealing property from other people, you're saving money. You're collecting rent on your property, and you're trying to get as many full sets of property as you can, without going bankrupt, because then you end up having to give your property to other people. So the premise is very similar to normal Monopoly. It's quick, it's simple. You can put it in your handbag, and you can have many, many rounds over dinner, and it's a really nice game. I like that one, Monopoly Deal. And of course, I've got quite a lot of games in my handbag, but don't forget the Dark Imp mint tin or tobacco tin games. This is the size they are. They come in the puzzle boxes. This one's got Countdown Confusion in, which is in prototype form right now, but will be coming out in a tin this size. So each puzzle box has got a tin this size in it, and a bigger game. So the tins are, they're created, these games are created to be easy to transport. And of course, there's also Dark Imp coasters and bookmarks with games on as well, and you can shove them in your back pocket. They're that easy. Now, just to prove that I have managed to get other things in my handbag as well as all the games, here's my headphones, my earphones, my wallet, my pad of paper, which of course is useful for writing down scores, and a pen, my phone, a hairband, and some plasters. You always need plasters. So, a bag about this size is perfect for how many games do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I can fit 16 games in my handbag, probably a few more if I use the outside pockets. There you go. Games that are easy to transport and you can take around with you and play on the go.